Disney? What is Disney? This is Disney!
Hello, my name is Leapfrog. I'm all along the story. Thanks for coming. Let's get into it.
Walt always had the idea that he wanted a monorail in Disneyland, right from the original sketches, Disneyland, that Herb Ryman did. One day he was in Germany and he saw a monorail train that he'd never seen before.
Walt Disney originally envisioned the monorail as a practical form of public transportation for the future. However, the technology would never catch on in the United States. The monorail came about during a time when America, and particularly Los Angeles' obsession with automobiles, was increasing. The monorails in the United States were mostly located in Disney theme parks. The job of building the monorail was originally sent to the standard carriage works of East Los Angeles. But in late 1958, Walt Disney, pressured for time, moved it to his Burbank studios. Disney designer Bob Gurr then headed the Disney team that designed and manufactured the cars, chassis, suspension, and propulsion systems.
In the heyday, Disneyland, the monorail was the craziest idea yet. But with Bob Gurr leading the project, it ended up being something extravagant. Thank you for coming the story, and thank you for coming to this historical movie contact Disneyland Rise. Today, we cover the monorail. Thank you for coming. Let's get into it. Alright, so Bob Gurr, an Imagineer, appointed by Disney to create something the Germans have made but into a heavier steel. This monorail is lighter steel. It's able to go above ground and travel above everyone in the park, just to meet in Tomorrowland. The greatest attraction to ever be built, or one of the greatest attractions to ever be built in the history of Disneyland, is the monorail. Bob Gurr headed it. He ended up kind of being a Disney legend himself because of his hard work and ingenuity and his hard idea making. But the thing is, when it comes down to the monorail, that very thing can be in split of something that is so important. Why is it that the monorail is so memorable? Why do we have certain things in terms of the memory of Disney that leads into this very, very ideal that we call the monorail? The thing is, when you consider everything that we've been talking about in the past about rides, this ride conveys some sort of transportation that ends up being the metaphor towards something in your own life. See, the thing is, are you traveling above ground? Are you making it to the park on time and ready to go? And are you really ready for something like the monorail to take you there? See, the thing is, when it comes down to it, there's a lot of things that can come across as different, an ingenuity based. But the thing is, when it comes down to this, it's more than that. It's way more than that. Bob Gurr knew it, Walt Disney knew it, and so did the president of the time. Everything points to Bob Gurr and Walt Disney in terms of something of immaculation that is the monorail. I mean, yes, there's been monorails made before, but this one's different. This one has a high stakes to it. This takes a lot of Imagineering to make right. A lot of mathematics, a lot of aerodynamics, a lot of different things to make the monorail in itself work. Well, not just in Walt Disney World, but over there in Disneyland as well. They have high maintenance jobs. They have different things to make sure the monorail is working properly. And in that day, it was led by Bob Gurr himself. And that making this ride one of the greatest rides ever in Disney history. But here's the thing. What are the nooks and crannies of all this? What can we see in terms of it that would make it different to every other ride we talked about? Well, let's go into detail. Okay, so the thing is, when it comes down to the rides in Disneyland, there's a lot of different rides that hold a lot of different spectrums. And a lot of different rides that holds a spectrum in itself. But what is the number one top tier ride you gotta go on, or else you might miss the entire Disneyland as a whole? Maybe Space Mountain, yes, but I was thinking more monorail. If you don't get on the monorail, what's the use in trying to have, well, something of our own? Something beautiful. Something in terms of something that is more applicable to the none would be the monorail. Designed by Bob Gurr and helped built by Bob Gurr. The thing is, when it comes down to the ride, what makes its talent, what makes its top tierness, what makes its potentiality something that we can all look to and say, That's the monorail. I mean, for heaven's sakes, they made a slide out of it in Disneyland Hotel. There's a lot of things about this ride that Bob Gurr just put his handprints on, and they've stayed there for years. And Walt Disney as well put his handprints on, and they've stayed there for years. It's a piece of Imagineering that's never been done before. It's a piece of Imagineering that took some time, but it's a piece of Imagineering that will go down in history forever. But here's the thing. The metaphor of this ride is stay above ground. Because the thing is, when you think about everything that is the ride, it stays above ground. It's overviewing other people. The metaphor of this ride and how it can connect to your life is stay above ground. Application, of course.
Disneyland that Herb Ryman did. One day he was in Germany and he saw a monorail train that he'd never seen before.
Okay, so what does it exactly mean to stay above ground? Well, when they go low, you go high. When there's something in your life that means staying above water, stay above water. If it means you need to make sure you get the best grades ever, stay above water. If it means that you need to make sure your family's taken care of, stay above water. Ethically, financially, and, well, educationally. There's a lot of things we can do in terms of this whole thing. And there's a lot of things we can do in terms of remembering what the monorail is. The monorail is a piece of engineering that ended up being one of the most greatest things ever in the park. Well, here's the thing. It was built with care, and built with love, and built with technicality in mind. What are you doing to build a life above water, and how are you living in the technicality of, well, everyday life? Thank you for coming to application. Let's continue forward. Thank you for coming along the story. Thank you for this historical one for contacted Disneyland rides. There are more rides in the future, so keep an eye out for those. Also, the mission is 1,000 subscribers. You guys can help me get there by hitting the share, like, and subscribe button right on the screen. Also, by hitting that bell. Take a look at my Patreon if you can, and leave a comment as well. Thank you again, and peace.